Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Wednesday, and of course, you know it's story time. I'm probably going to do a couple of short stories today, and we'll see what happens. It's really warm over here, so just bear with me. It's kind of humid, and you know how it is, right? All right. Okay, the first one I'm going to read is The Dolls. We'll see how this one is. All right. As a child, I was always quiet, and my conversations with others would always end up awkward. Because of that, I always preferred to be alone growing up, which probably explains my strange obsession with toys, being as old as I am. They never talk, they just stare. I have to say, though, being alone in an apartment full of figurines can be creepy sometimes. Yeah, I would say. However, being with my girl for almost 2 years, she understands my obsession well. But with this much, she would probably be shocked when she first sees them. That night, she was more than excited to see my house. As we approached the door, she could barely contain her excitement. So without further delay, I swing the front door open. Make yourself at home. I say to her, it's kind of messy, but it's more comfortable than it is. Her face was in shock, then absolutely terror as she started to scream. I tried to calm her down, but it just got worse. I was puzzled. Is she afraid of my toys? I understand it's a bit strange, but is it that horrifying? I had to calm her down as the neighbors were starting to come out. With a quick impulse, I quickly dragged her in my house as I tried to ease her mind. Her screaming just got louder and louder. At this point, I had no choice but to put my hand over her mouth. She watched me in terror with tears rolling down her face. I turned around and they were all staring at me as well. I'm alone again. I placed her doll on the top shelf above all the others I have dated. Her look made me feel depressed, so I made it face the wall until I was able to get over it. So, was it really dolls, or is he just one of those maniac that kills people and make them as dolls? That's what it sounds like. So that's the first one. Let's see, we'll find another one. What's this one? It's too long. All right, here's another one. The Third Wish. An elderly man was sitting alone in a dark path. He wasn't sure which direction to go, and he'd forgotten both where he was traveling to and who he was. He sat down for a moment to rest his weary legs and suddenly looked up to see an elderly woman before him. She grinned toothlessly and with a cackle spoke, "Now, your third wish. What will it be?" Third wish? The man was baffled. How could it be a third wish if I hadn't had a first and second? That's what I was wondering too. You've had 2 wishes already, the hag said, but your second wish was for me to return everything to the way it was before you had made your first wish. That's why you remember nothing, because everything is the way it was before you made any wishes. She cackled at the poor man. So is it that you have 1 wish left? All right, he said hesitantly. I don't believe this, but there's no harm in trying. I wish to know who I am. Funny, said the old woman as she granted his wish and disappeared forever. That was your first wish. That was kind of random. All right. And let's see if we can have another one. Yeah, today's just random stories, Some kind of scary, some kind of out there, why not? Let's see. Let's see what the hands is. Wait, hold on. Let's see what this one is. All right, we're going to read the class. My life has been somewhat ruined by an experience I had when I was younger. I think so often back to the time my experience happened. Nobody ever believed my story at the time, so I decided to write it now, for the world to see. It began really when I was 14 or so, when my family moved home. My dad had been offered a job with better pay, and a mere week later, we had sold our house and rented an apartment in the town we moved to. It was during the summer we moved, so it was simple starting at my new school. When term began, I nervously walked from our apartment building to the school, which was rather close. I hadn't had the chance to meet any local kids, so I knew nobody was scared of having to make new friends all alone. I don't recall really speaking to anyone that morning. I was too shy to see. I just took my timetable in a slightly trembling hand and looked to see what my first class was. Math in room 104. I checked the little school map handout I had been given. I looked at that map over and over. I couldn't see my classroom number at all. By then, no staff were around me, and I began to panic. Where the hell do I go? All right. Anyway, I followed the building layout, and at the end of the eerily quiet and long corridor, my passage was blocked by rather old-looking wooden double doors that didn't open when I pushed. This seemed wrong. Like this part of the building was not meant to be entered. I played with the idea that somebody had accidentally shut them, or maybe I just wasn't pushing hard enough. I rammed into the doors with my shoulder, and with a scraping sound of metal on wood, they opened. I realized that I had broken the bolts on the other side of the door, which were brittle with rust. Horrified at having broken a door lock on my first day, I was about to turn and run from the scene, and just ask someone to help me find my class. I obviously shouldn't be in this part of the school. The new corridor was old and dusty. The lockers were all hanging open and unused. A faint smell of mold hung in the air, but as I turned, I noticed the numbers painted on the glass windows of the doors along the corridor. The one nearest to me read 100. Perplexed, I checked my timetable again to assure myself that I had read my class number correctly. It was clear. My room was 104, and just along the corridor, apparently, I began to walk slowly, looking into the windows of each class I passed. 100, empty. 101, empty. 102, empty, except for a plastic skeleton hanging in the corner by a pile of yellowing student lab coats. Still, it was enough to make me flinch. As I checked 103, empty, I heard the voice of an adult man coming from the room opposite. Room 104. I peeked through the window. Full. Except it wasn't what I expected to see. Sure, there was a teacher wearing a worn brown suit and blue bow tie. And there were students, all focused on this teacher, sitting apart from one another on an old-fashioned wooden table. What made me pause was that they were wearing. Kids didn't dress like that anymore. It looked like a classroom from an old film or show. The teacher stood beside a blackboard dusting from chalk. Despite the oddity, I knocked on the door. I assumed the school had a poor budget. The teacher didn't notice my knocking. So I quietly opened the door and walked in. None of the students took their gaze away from the teacher, who also paid no attention to me. Okay. I awkwardly apologized for my lateness, citing that I had gotten lost. I then made my way over to the only free seat in the room and sat down. I felt my cheeks burn with embarrassment. I must have interrupted the class, I thought. Getting excited. The teacher began his lessons a few seconds later rather casually. His name was Mr. Talori. It's a weird name. He began to chalk equations on the board and got the class to solve them. The lesson was rather ordinary, except for the fact no calculators were used. Whenever I raised my hand to answer a question, almost to try and win back favor from the teacher, he ignored it and always chose another student to answer the problem. The lesson ended abruptly after what felt like hours. By the end of it, I was bored and miserable. I just wanted to get home and complain about the way I was ignored. When I left the room, I felt pangs of hunger. I glanced at my watch and was shocked to see the school day had ended. A whole day of maths? Horror, I had decided I hated that school. I walked slowly home, going over the day's events in my mind. It was all very weird, but I suppose I would get used to this new school eventually. When I got home, my mother was talking on the home phone. Her face displayed confusion. She heard me come in and frowned when she saw me. She looked somewhat angry and asked whoever was on the other end of the phone line to hold. And then she accused me of skipping school. Bear with me, guys. Confusion followed. I told her I was in class all day, but apparently the school had phoned to say I wasn't in any lessons and hadn't seen me after I collected my timetable. I said I was in Mr. Tellalori's class in room 104 all day. I must have missed a register when I was late, I thought. My mom paused and told the school on the phone my story. Her expression froze after a few seconds, and then she looked at me rather worriedly. She hung up the phone and told me what the school had said. Mr. Tellalori had not worked at that school in 38 years. Apparently, room 104 was part of an abandoned section of the school that hadn't been used since a school shooting nearly 40 years ago. The school thought I was playing some sick joke. That night, I went on the web to find out if what the school said was true. Quickly, I have found old newspaper articles about the school massacre that had been archived. A madman had simply walked into the school with a hunting rifle and shot a whole class dead. He had blocked the doorway and shot everyone in a maths classroom. An old, grainy photo showed the class where the murders happened. I recognized it immediately. It was room 104. An obituary showed tributes to the dead and photos of all that had... Hold on 1 second. Yeah. Someone tried to message me. All right. An obituary showed tributes to the dead and photos of all that had died. I recognized them too. Mr. Tellalori and all the students I had spent a day with. My heart felt like it had stopped. I felt sick. I felt cold to my bones at that moment. After that day, I changed schools. Now, years later, I've written this, my account of what happened to me, which nobody had ever believed. The reason? Why now? Yesterday, I received a letter in the post. There was no address. It had simply appeared through my letterbox. It was a class reunion invite, signed by my old teacher, Mr. Tellalori. Wow. That was a real twist. Imagine trying to go to a school and everything, and then after you find out, you go to this classroom and you sit down for the whole day and you interact with these people and everything, and come to find out when you go home and it wasn't actually, he wasn't actually there and the class didn't actually exist. Oh, that would really get me. I know I keep playing with my hat because it's all messed up. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Sunday, if you like this, please give it a thumbs up, share, subscribe, be part of the family. And I'll talk to you Sunday with, I'll probably try to do pick a card or pick a deck or something to that effect. All right, guys, keep smiling. Stay safe and have fun. Mwah. Bye.